and branding tactics. I mean, right, Stacey on the podcast has talked about Wicked. We see it with Six. So you say though, okay, just because a show is saying that it's full of girl power, or empowering women, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a feminist musical. Like, can you both unpack that a little? Like, what do you mean by that? Because I think to a modern day audience, that actually is probably maybe a provocative statement to make.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the really exciting and challenging things about where we are today in politics and feminism as feminist scholars is that the idea of feminism has kind of so many different definitions. It always has, because the movement has always been multivariant and there have been different kind of branches of the movement and different focuses. But this popular feminism that you're talking about right now, there was a time when kind of identifying oneself as a feminist publicly itself was a very radical act. And people didn't want to call themselves a feminist. Feminists were like radicals who were burning bras in the streets and hated all men. And, like there's this kind of like scary idea, or exciting depending on who you are, of what kind of a feminist was. And in our current day and age, feminism is a topic that's talked about and adopted by people across the political spectrum with a lot of different opinions about women's rights, and who would consider themselves champions of women's and girls, or of women's empowerment, but have very different ideas of what that actually looks like in practice and what that means. And the exciting part of living in that time is that seeing, very public, commercial, and highly consumed properties identifying themselves with feminism is a step forward. However, there's kind of the question is how deep that feminism actually goes. And this idea of popular feminism is one that was kind of theorized in the last kind of like 10 years, as a way of describing